Listen. Think. Learn. Grow. Listen. Think. Learn. Grow. Live.
This is Metaphysical Universe, exploring science and spirituality, with Dr. Douglas Kelly and Dr. Vicki Hunter.
Hello and welcome to the Spirit of Life service for Wednesday, September 7th, 2016. I'm Dr. Doug Kelly, here with Dr. Vicki Hunter.
Hello, good to be here.
And Michael Kelly is here as well, producing the show and chiming in now and then. Welcome, Michael.
Good evening, everyone.
And we see that there are quite a few folks in the chat room. I'd like to welcome all of you as well, and welcome to those who are listening to the archive of this program. We appreciate the time you're spending with us. The Spirit of Life is a weekly service and educational program of the International Church of Metaphysical Humanism. Our mission is to explore and empower the human spirit as well as to explore science and spirituality. In addition to this weekly service, ICMH Church also has several other educational programs, including EmpoweredRecovery.com, which offers help for the friends and family of alcoholics and addicts, Paranexus.org, an association of anomalous researchers, MetaphysicSinstitute.org, that offers bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees in metaphysical topics, and Thomas Francis University, which offers standalone and metaphysical courses as well as degrees and diploma programs at tfuniversity.org. Now, tonight is customary. I'd like to read our abbreviated principles of belief, and these are abbreviated, as I said. The full expanded versions are on our website at metaphysicalhumanism.org. We have 9 principles of belief, and tonight, take special note of number 4, because we're going to be talking about that after I read them. So here's our 9 abbreviated principles of belief. Number 1, do no harm, do right. Number 2, we believe in the indomitable power of the human spirit. The answers we seek already exist within us. 3, we believe that we alone are responsible for and capable of solving human social problems. 4, we are all equal. One planet, one race, one ancestry, one destiny. Number 5, we recognize and honor the divine energy that exists in all living things. 6, we are physical and spiritual beings. Consciousness survives death of the physical body. 7, self-acceptance, self-responsibility, and respect for free will creates self-completeness. 8, metaphysical education and practical life skills empower the human spirit and enhance the human condition. And 9, expanding human consciousness leads to human evolution and peaceful coexistence. And again, you can read the full version of these on our website at metaphysicalhumanism.org. Now tonight, the topic that I want to start with anyway is dealing with viewpoints that are different than yours. Another title for this could be tolerance, or tolerance versus intolerance. So to kind of get us started, I'm going to have Michael read a card from our Inner Oracle card deck. These cards are basically what we teach, not only in the church but also in our metaphysical degree programs and courses. So, Michael, if you'd read card number 35, please.
All right, card number 35, one planet, one race, one ancestry, one destiny. Divine energy lives in all things. Diversity in nature and among humanity is not an evolutionary mistake. It is an evolutionary constant. This card advocates equality, peace, unity, healthy life skills, higher consciousness, and spiritual enlightenment. It is critical for our spiritual evolution that we display tolerance and equality towards others as well as ourselves. Remember, you are of divine energy.
Okay, good, thank you. And I'll have you read the other card here in a few minutes. Just I'll let you know when. So, one planet, one race, one ancestry, one destiny. Tolerance. Now, we live in a world that apparently is having a real hard time overcoming racism, prejudice, bigotry, and so forth. And this can be expressed in so many ways. It's expressed against the gay and lesbian community. It's expressed against women. It's expressed against minorities. It's expressed against those with different religious views, depending on which country you're in. And here's the point. Diversity in nature and among humanity is not an evolutionary mistake. It's an evolutionary constant. Diversity is the name of the game when you look at everything you can see all around you, everywhere, in creation, everywhere. Diversity is the thing, and there's nothing wrong with diversity. Here a week or so ago, I was watching an episode of the documentary Through the Wormhole with Morgan Freeman. The episode was What Makes a Terrorist. And they made an incredible point, and I've been thinking on this for some time, for a few days now, and how much sense that it makes. Basically, the point is that you see these groups who hate, who express hatred, and what they end up doing is they end up dehumanizing others. Now think about that for a minute. They dehumanize others. And, I had to admit that we kind of all do that. It's expressed and displayed in a number of ways. For example, think about the person behind the screen in a particular forum, and they get all angry and they're mean and they say unkind things. I mean, we've seen it so many times, right? They have that veil of anonymity. Nobody knows who they are, so they can say whatever they want. Well, they don't view the other people on the other side of that screen as humans. They've dehumanized these people. So they can say whatever they want with careless disregard. That's just, that happens. And you look at others who criticize whoever it is, minorities or those of different ethnicities or gay and lesbian community, and they dehumanize them. They hate them. And we see hate groups, gangs, dehumanize others, other gangs, other people in public, and so they end up shooting them and so forth. It's such a common thing. And then we get and I'll speak for myself, I suppose, but I know many do. You read in the news about how somebody said this or this mean thing, this unkind thing, or maybe a current, presidential candidate's made another racist or misogynist comment, and then we tend to dehumanize them. We ridicule them. Now, in fairness, sometimes it's righteous indignation, which is fine, but we have to be careful with that too, the righteous indignation, because we don't want to go overboard. There's so many cases of this, and one of the reasons I'm talking about this particular point tonight is it needs to be said repeatedly. You never know who might listen to this program, and so there's a number of points I want to make on it, but the reason it came up today is Dr. Sandra from South Africa emailed me and talked about this particular Christian fundamentalist preacher who is either going to South Africa, I believe that's the case, or has just been. I think he's going. His name's Stephen L. Anderson from Tempe, Arizona. He's a Baptist preacher who basically made the comment, I believe, to kill the gays because that's what the Bible says, Leviticus, blah, blah, blah. And he's just, the latest Christian fundamentalist who's trying to rise to the top, I guess, and make a name. But he goes on and on and on about how gays should die. It's a capital crime, deserves capital punishment, and I have no time for individuals like him, and frankly, they're a dime a dozen in as Christian fundamentalists. And some of you may not like what I'm going to say. That's fine, because that's the whole point here. You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it. I don't need you to do that. Take what you want and leave the rest. But the fact is that there are many religious fundamentalists of all flavors around the world. We like to, Americans like, and others like to criticize the Middle East and the Muslims and all that. But we have Christian fundamentalists right here in this country that border on being religious terrorists. They don't necessarily kill people, but they do assassinate with their words. And this Stephen L. Anderson is no different. He's just the latest one, and you can find him everywhere. And, you know, this guy protests against gays a lot, and methinks he doth protest too much. And by his own word, one interviewer asked him when he changed, how did he learn this? And he said when he was 17, he read the Bible cover to cover, and that's when he began to change and change his thinking on this. And I'm telling you, I think he protests too much, and I think there's a lot of them who doth protest too much, if you get what I'm saying. They have to convince themselves that they're not gay. And many of them are closet gays, and they just can't admit it. Now, we could go on and just criticize these people, and then we would be dehumanizing. The fact is, this dude, Stephen L. Anderson, has a family. He has several kids. In fact, one of the videos he made of his diatribe of hate was in a car driving with his kids in the back seat. You know, it's tantamount to child abuse. It's not healthy. But the fact is, he's got a family. Okay, he's a human being. He's clearly way off and doesn't get it, but he's still got a family, and I'm sure he loves his kids, and I'm sure his kids love him, and so forth. You see what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to draw some middle ground. Yes, people do things, and they shouldn't do those things. Remember, do no harm, do right. And if he would just remember that, do no harm, do right, you know, how much better his message would be. And that goes with any other of these Christian fundamentalist preachers, or Islam, or whoever. It doesn't matter the religion. It's the message. Is the message of hate? Is it intolerant? Is it putting people down? Is it doing harm? Well, then it's not healthy. It's not good. And so ICMH Church has long ago made a stand for equality, for tolerance, for respecting other people's right to believe as they will. I don't personally care what anybody believes, as long as they do no harm and do right. Don't hurt other people. Don't be mean. Don't be unkind. Don't put people down. You know, if somebody disagrees with you, well, so what? If you disagree with somebody else, so what? And I want to pound that in. Somebody has a different viewpoint than you, so what? Who cares? So what? This is a big, you know, let's turn the lights on here. Sometimes we get so aggravated because, you know, somebody doesn't agree with us, or they don't think like we do, or maybe they get aggravated with us because we don't think like they do. My question is, so what? So what? Who cares? Let them believe the way they want. You believe the way you want. And we've talked about this many times. Recently we talked about how students, they enroll in the degree program. They're all excited. They want to tell somebody. They tell their family, their friends, only to get put down and criticized because, you know, this is not a real degree, and, you know, all the crap that they hear. And it's ignorance. It's lack of awareness. It doesn't matter. So what? You don't want to think it's a real degree? That's fine. Who cares? I don't care. It's important to me. This is what I've decided to do, and this is what I'm going to do. So, thanks for your opinion, but I didn't ask for it. You know, so you see the so what point here. If somebody doesn't agree with you, so what? If you don't agree with somebody else, so what? Some of these people on this planet think that their way is the only way, you know, e.g., Stephen L. Anderson and all the other fundamentalists like him think that their way is the only way. Of course, they blame it on God. Well, it's not. I didn't invent this. I didn't say this. It's God saying it in the Bible. And the interesting thing is he quotes from the Old Testament, also known as the Hebrew Scriptures, which features a dysfunctional God that should be tried for crimes against humanity. Now, you know, at least he could do is follow the example of the Jesus is written in the New Testament or the Greek Scriptures. You know, even though there's no secular evidence that person ever existed, at least some of the message was much better, one of love. And so anyway, let's go to the next card that I want you to read, son. This is wild card number 5, please.
All right, wild card number 5, don't hate. A low energy signature refuses to learn more in order to better accept and understand others. Hate grows in this low frequency. The result is fear, demonstrated as the need to criticize and control others. This is how wars begin, whether it's in relationships, within families, or between countries. Understanding does not mean one has to agree. It means rising above the low frequency to do no harm, do right, to self and others.
So the message here is don't hate. And any religion that promotes hate or fear is not healthy, and most of them do in some way. So we have to learn and grow ourselves. We have to evolve ourselves to understand that's their message. That's them. That's their belief system. And yes, it harms others, but you don't have to expose yourself to it. You don't have to be a part of that. And it can be any negative relationship or any toxic relationship of any kind, whether it's with a religion or whether it's with a spouse or partner or anything. We don't have to live that way. We don't have to get involved in any arguments over beliefs or differences of beliefs. Because it just doesn't matter. Nobody's belief is necessarily more valid than any other. Now, I say that with there's a fine line there too. I mean, if somebody's belief means that they go out and kill other people because they don't believe like them, well, that's obviously not a valid belief. It's not healthy. It's not a good thing to have. So, if we always keep in mind, do no harm, do right, don't hate. Diversity is the way of the universe. If we keep those things in mind, and when somebody disagrees with us, in our mind at least, we say, so what? It doesn't matter. You disagree? Okay, fine. I'm not going to get into an argument over it. It doesn't matter whether you agree or not. Dr. Hunter, anything you want to add to this?
Well, it's such a big topic, and
yeah, it is.
It brings to mind, I have been focused a lot on what's happening in North Dakota. For those of you who don't know, the Lakota Sioux and Standing Rock is a sacred place that thousands and thousands now of over 100 tribal nations have come together to stop the Dakota Access Pipeline. And I'm amazed to see still that there are comments on Twitter and Facebook and the racist remarks, the pro-Christian remarks about, well, those Indians get all our money and, let them have their land and we'll keep all the paychecks. There's so much miseducation that there's no accurate historical accounting for what has happened the last 50 years, let alone the last 500 years. And it's amazing that people would want to hate without having any knowledge, without having information. And that's what I call a really low frequency. It's that there's a lot of cognitive dissonance, as we say. It's who serves what. But I tell you what, this particular event is the biggest in history, at least in recent history. There has never been this many tribal nations to come together in over 100 years. And it's just huge. The message is about water and to protect the rights of good water, because this pipeline wants to run through a huge major waterway that will affect drinking water to 18 million people, let alone destroy the artifacts and sacred sites of the Lakota people. It's the kindness of our Red Nations people to not be embittered, to be kind, to be good, to be protectors rather than protesters, to be welcoming of anyone who wants to join, of all the four races, as they say. Never has there been a people so persecuted as Red Nations people throughout all of North and South America. We could include Africa, we could include a lot of places, but right here, right at home, and they continue to be kind. To be a warrior doesn't mean you hate. To be a warrior means that you fight for what's right, so that do no harm, do right is exactly what they are exemplifying right now. And I couldn't have this conversation tonight without bringing this up, Dr. Kelly, because I am pro North Dakota, and but I have connections there. I have connections with Red Nations people, so but it's just when people don't understand, when people are uneducated, even if you're a pro-capitalist and you want all the pipelines in the world, it doesn't mean you have that. There's still that capacity to hate people and prefer them all to be annihilated. And it's, of course, I'm going to tell you right there, it not only is about business and governments and corporations and so on, but it's about the church and state together, how they have decided that, they're all barbaric animals and not really people. And there's still people who feel that way, still people who think that way. The only way we're going to rise above all this is with education, which is part of what we're doing here tonight. So yes. That's my little soapbox for the moment. But to continue to educate people about not just tolerance, but exactly what is more accurate history and what's brought us to this moment, and then we can begin to change. People are so willing to believe the reality that's given to them. And of course, it's always subjective. But if somebody tells you to believe in God and Jesus Christ, and you say, okay, Mom and Dad, I guess I'll have to believe that. I don't know what that is. And we do that. We take it on because we have that willingness to trust. But we also have this ability for critical thinking and this extraordinary intelligence to evolve and to rise above. And that's what all of us here and everybody in the chat and all the people at IMHS and yourselves, the Kellys, we're all in this together and we're all doing that. But I would just ask everybody to please spread that along a little bit. Just ask people to educate themselves. Ask them to do some reading. Point them in a direction. Don't tell them what to believe. Just point them in a direction and it'll be helpful, we hope.
Good points, and I'm glad you brought that up because, that's just one of the many things that go on where people hate Native Americans, indigenous peoples in different countries and so forth. So the point is, let's not dehumanize people. And frankly, there are people on this planet who are dehumanized, but they do it more to themselves than anyone else. You take somebody who just goes out and murders other people, they're no longer human. They're some animal. They're not human. They've dehumanized themselves. People who are bigots, racists, misogynists, they have dehumanized themselves. And, that's what they've done to themselves. And we have to call it out. People who say things like that a certain type of class of people, a group of people should die, like gays and lesbians, transgenders, that's just wrong. It's hate. They have dehumanized themselves. But we don't want to dehumanize. We understand they're humans. That doesn't mean we're going to let them get away with saying what they're saying. Because we have to apply a little back pressure here to tell the other side of this story. But the fact is that humans are humans. We don't know where we came from. Okay, this whole God of the Bible or God of the Quran or whatever it is, that God there doesn't exist. And frankly, I wouldn't want to serve that kind of God anyway. Now, whether it's a creator or not, I don't know. But the fact is that all of these ideas that people have about hate, about what group is better than another group, about what color of skin is better than another color, they're just thoughts that originated in some bigot's mind and then grew from there. It doesn't make it real. Just because there's over 1 billion Christians on the planet does not make Christianity real. Just because people believe that the Bible is true from God does not make it so. When I was knocking on doors as Jehovah's Witness years ago, I hated to come across an atheist. Why? Because we no longer had any common ground. I always used the Bible as an authority. Well, if they didn't believe in the Bible, I no longer had that authority. Couldn't find any agreement. And that's the point, is that it's all just stuff. We don't know all the answers. We're looking for the answers. And so we have to cooperate and get along with one another. Get away from the tribal warfare. Get away from the hatred. Get away from the bigotry and the racism. All of that stuff. We got to get away from it. So don't dehumanize others. And if you find yourself dehumanizing somebody when you're driving down the road and they're not driving very well, we can dehumanize them. Just remember, they might have stuff going on that we don't know. We've all been in that driver's seat. We've got something on our mind. We've got problems. We've got something, and we're not all the way there. And we got to give people a little bit more of a break than we tend to do. So that's that for tonight on this. We have talked about a lot tonight. Tolerance, not hating, don't dehumanize. We talked about perfection, gains, hope, education, insight, and wisdom, energy shifts, and new chapters. So we talked about a lot of different things, and I hope that you found some value in this. We appreciate everyone time tonight with us, as always. Quite a few folks in the chat room. We appreciate that. Let other people know if you found value in this. Maybe they will too. Again, thanks to everybody. Thanks to Dr. Hunter. Thanks to Michael. And thanks to me for being here. We appreciate it. Folks, we'll see you next week. Until then, listen, think, learn, grow, and live. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.